There is a kind of struggle that young men rarely admit out loud. It's not laziness, not weakness, nor is it that they do not care. It's a feeling that no matter how hard they try, they were simply not born with what other people have and will never be good enough. Some people are naturally confident, some people are naturally gifted, and some seem to walk into the room already chosen. And then there are those like Rock Lee. Now, Rock Lee lives in a world where talent is not hidden. It's obvious, it's measurable, it has names: ninjutsu, genjutsu, bloodlines, natural ability. And Rock Lee has none of that. He is surrounded by people who can do things that he cannot do. He trains in a world that constantly reminds him of what he lacks. And that is why his story resonates with so many people. Because Rock Lee is not just fighting other ninjas. He's fighting the quiet belief that maybe he was never meant to become anything special. And if you are a young man watching this, you probably understand that more than you want to admit. Maybe you're not the smartest, the strongest, naturally confident, the guy girls notice. Maybe you're not the athlete, the leader, the funny one, the chosen one, so to speak. And when you grow up feeling like that, something dangerous can happen. You start confusing a lack of talent with a lack of worth. Now, this is Rock Lee's real battle in my eyes. Not Gara or Neji, not the exams. His battle is the voice inside his head asking, what if my effort is not enough? What if I am not enough? But Rock Lee's story is not really about hard work, at least not entirely. That's the surface lesson. The deeper lesson is, Rock Lee became great because one good man believed in him before he had proof. He had one role model that guided him onto the right path, and that gave him belief. And that man was, of course, Might Guy. And without Might Guy, Rock Lee's discipline might have turned into despair or worse. Because discipline alone is not enough when you despise yourself, when you are so discontent that no matter what you do, it seems meaningless. You can train every day and still feel worthless. You can push your body and still feel behind. You can chase improvement and still feel like you're not progressing. So what Might Guy gave Rock Lee was not just a workout plan. He gave him a new way to see himself. The Might Guy did not lie to Lee. He did not tell him, oh, you are secretly the most talented. He did not pretend the path would be easy. He did not sell him a fantasy, which I feel like many gurus or influencers try to do. He did something much better. He gave him a path. He looked at a boy who had every reason to quit and said, in effect, your road is harder, but it is still real, so walk it. And that's what a positive male role model should do. He does not flatter you into comfort nor shame you into silence. He does not mock your pain, and he does not let you worship it either and, self-pity. A good man sees your weakness. A good role model sees your weakness, but he does not reduce you to it. He gives you standards, structure, correction, encouragement, and most importantly, he gives you an example. And this is why Might Guy matters in this situation. Because Guy is not just strong. He's strong without being cruel. He's disciplined without being bitter. He's confident without being arrogant. And he stays positive in the face of adversity. That combination is obviously rare. And a lot of young men today are given two false pictures of manhood. On one side, they're told that it's basically toxic, or masculinity is toxic and whatnot. And that strength, ambition, and competitiveness, and toughness are things to be ashamed of. On the other side, they're sold a corrupted version of masculinity, that their self-worth is measured by the money they make and the women they get with. My guy shows something better. He's intense, but joyful at the same time. He's tough, but loving with Rock Lee. He's demanding, but loyal. He expects greatness from Lee, but he never makes him feel disposable. Much the opposite, in fact. And that is positive masculinity. That's what masculinity is, really. What it should be. It's not weakness or cruelty or submissiveness. It's strength in service of love. And that's what many young men are missing. A boy doesn't need information alone. He needs formation. He does not only need advice, he needs an example. He needs to see someone who's done it. Certainly helps. And he needs to see what courage looks like, to be able to step outside of his comfort zone. He needs to see what discipline looks like, and what sacrifice looks like, self-control, faithfulness, and what it means to fall down and then bounce back from that situation. Perseverance. Rock Lee did not learn his perseverance from a quote on the internet or from, watching YouTube shorts. He learned it from watching Might Guy live it. From first-hand example. And this is important because a lot of young men today are trying to raise themselves without that masculine guidance, that man to look up to follow in their footsteps, so to speak. So they're learning manhood from algorithms, from influencers, comment sections, retards with microphones like myself, celebrities who look successful but are just degenerates with no morals. And from people who confuse attention with wisdom, so the clickbaiters and the attention seekers, we all know them. The danger is that a young man without a good role model will often attach himself to a bad one, because the hunger for guidance does not disappear. If a boy does not have a Might Guy, he will look for an Orochimaru, or whatever's closest. Yeah. So there's a lot of bad advice and guidance out there, especially in the current age that we're living. Everything's accessible. We must look at tradition and values that have been built up over centuries, and not these fleeting, attention-seeking values pushed on us by the algorithm. Now, my guy teaches Rock Lee that strength is not about proving you're simply better than everyone. It's about becoming faithful to your path, to your mission, your values. And this is why Rock Lee's training is so powerful. The weights on his legs are not just weights. They represent the burden of what it takes to become the kind of person that no one, not even yourself, expects you to become. Every push-up, every lap, every failure, every humiliating moment, every time he watches someone else do easily what he cannot do at all of it becomes part of his formation. But again, Lee does not carry that all alone. Guy gives him belief until Lee can develop his own. And that's one of the most important things I think a mentor can do. Sometimes a young man does not have confidence yet. He has borrowed belief. Someone else sees something in him before he can see it in himself. So it could be a father, a coach, teacher, priest, an uncle, an older brother, a good friend, simply a man of character. There's someone who says, I know you're not there yet, but I can see the man you could become. And that sentence alone can change your life, can change your perspective on yourself. And my guy pushes Lee hard, but he also shows that he's not alone. And that matters. Something that comes to mind from Naruto Shippuden is after Lee's fight with Gaara. And he is basically... Was it his leg? Yes, his leg was completely destroyed. And Tsunade believed she could fix him. There was a 50-50 chance, however, that he died in the process of the healing. And Rock Lee was indecisive, didn't know what to do. He was thinking, I think I'm just not going to go with it, And then my guy basically says, do it. I'm with you in this. If you die in that during that process, I will join you, basically, which is absolutely insane. Such a brilliant scene. So yeah, that sticks out to me. And look, Guy is not ashamed to care, to show that he cares. He's not embarrassed by affection or not too cool to encourage Lee. He's not afraid to be seen as sincere. And in a cynical world, the sincerity is powerful. Rock Lee becomes who he is because my guy gives him permission to believe effort can be noble. You have your Sasuke's who are like nonchalant, and Shikamaru is pretty nonchalant. My guy is unashamedly, whatever the word is, hardworking, extremely hardworking. And it's not glamorous, it's not easy, it's not instantly rewarded, but it's noble. Certainly is noble. And this is where Rock Lee's lesson sort of transcends anime. Because if you're a young man and you do not have that kind of influence in your life, you can't just sit around and sort of decay and bed rot. You have to go find it. You find it in good books, in history, in biographies of men who suffered well. You find it in coaches and teachers, in church community, in all the men whose lives have produced good fruit, who had the experience, and who have lived virtuous lives. You find it in stories that model virtue instead of vanity. And above all, I think of anyone, or for anyone, whether you are religious or not, is Jesus Christ. Very accessible to anyone. All you need is the Bible. And because discipline without charity becomes pride, strength without humility becomes danger, ambition without purpose becomes emptiness, self-improvement without God can easily become a worship of the self. Okay, so look, Rock Lee's story works because his discipline is not rooted in ego. He's not trying to become great so he can look down on everyone. He's trying to prove that he can become something to be proud of without all these natural gifts other people may have, through faithfulness, effort, and heart, right? And my guy protects that dream. That is what good men do. They protect the dreams of younger men until those dreams can become strong enough to survive criticism. It's about sheltering them until they're strong enough to take on the world themselves. When a man moves out, for example, when he's 18, he should be prepared for that life. And many of us are not. So the question is not just how do I become like Rock Lee, but who is my might guy? Who's shaping me? Who am I listening to? Who do I admire? And who am I becoming more like? So you think about this. What are you consuming the most? Whose voice are you hearing the most? And is this man a good influence on me? Is this man leading me to a more virtuous and a better life? So who am I becoming more like? And who do I want to become more like? Is that lining up? And if I do not have a good man close to me, am I seeking that wisdom from better sources? Because everyone is influenced by something. So be your phone, your friends, your entertainment, your habits, your heroes. So the only question is whether they are forming you into something strong, faithful, and good, or someone bitter, impulsive, and empty. Rock Lee clearly chose his model well. He followed a man who taught him that effort matters, joy matters, positivity, loyalty matters, and that being different does not mean you are worthless. And the harder path is often the better path if you walk in it with courage, if you take it head on, grab the bull by the horns. And nothing good comes without suffering. Eventually, Lee becomes the proof of this, although he doesn't sort of reach the heights we hoped in the series, at least not in Shippuden. But I think that was the writers doing him slightly dirty. I think he did do well in the war arc, however. He had his comeuppance, opened the sixth gate. So, yeah. I think the point still remains. So, this proof is not proof that talent does not matter whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying. It does matter, clearly. But Rock Lee proves that talent is not the same thing as destiny. Being born without something does not mean that you're condemned to nothing. He proves that a young man can be shaped through discipline, guidance, faith, encouragement, and through a standard worth living up to. So if you feel like Rock Lee, don't just give up and give in to depravities and impulsive behaviors. If you feel behind, don't quit. If you feel ordinary, don't quit. If you feel unseen, don't quit. If you feel like other people were born with what you have to bleed and work for, don't quit. Because once you achieve what they were handed, that reward is just that much sweeter. Also, don't try to do it alone. Don't try to become a man alone. Look for your might guy. Look for men worth learning from. Look for wisdom that is older than just the internet. Although, Naruto's got some pretty good wisdom in there. Look for stories that make you more courageous. And then train. Work on it. Not because training will make you worthy all on its own, but because you're already worth the effort. You're worth working for and training for. And Rock Lee became great because Might Guy believed in him until he could believe in himself. And he could push himself. And that might be what you need to do. Not another sort of empty motivational video. Not another promise that everything will be easy, or a voice telling you to hate yourself into greatness. That doesn't work very well. You need a model, a standard, a path, something to keep you grounded and steady, following the right trajectory to reach your goal. And one day, if you follow that path long enough, you will not just become Rock Lee. You will become the kind of man who can be a might guy for someone else.